Hello and welcome back to Tales Untold. I'm Erica.
And I'm Wyatt.
And today we are going to be covering that conspiracy theory that I promised during the Monkeys special. Would you like to reveal our conspiracy theory?
Was the moon landing faked?
Now, I've heard of this one for a really long time.
I have too.
And I've never actually cared to look it up, I guess.
Yeah, it's just one of those ones that just seems so silly. Like,
they're just looking for stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought we would try it out. And I actually had kind of a hard time discovering rock solid evidence that people had that it was faked.
Yeah, I had that problem too, but like, from my understanding, what the conspiracy theory is to me and what I've heard is that to win the space race, the US had a green screen set up in like Hollywood or something, and someone dressed up in an astronaut costume. And one of the main things that I've heard was, how was the flag upward or waving?
Yeah,
if there's no
that one kind of makes me mad because, I mean, obviously they put something there. Because you know what would happen to that flag if they did not put a rod across it? It would just lay flat up against the pole. Space is a vacuum. There is no wind.
At all.
There's no atmosphere on the moon.
There's no air.
There's nothing. Which is, honestly, it's also a hard concept for us to understand. Because we've been dealing with gravity since forever. So it's kind of hard for us to process the lack of it. It
definitely is.
I mean, it's hard to even think of while looking up these different things.
The flagpole, like you were just saying, was designed with a horizontal bar allowing the flag to fly or be held up. And the flag was just a standard 3 by 5 foot flag.
That's kind of big.
I think that's like the normal size.
I know, but like,
yeah,
that's a pretty big flag.
That is a pretty big
It's almost as tall as me.
Also, another thing that I've heard of a lot is the footsteps on the moon don't match the boots worn by Neil Armstrong. And I've seen pictures and they don't. Like, his spacesuit are different imprints than the ones on the moon. So, I didn't really look into it, why that is.
What do you mean, like the actual shape of the boot, or
the
like
imprint
say
on the bottom, like
the designer?
Yeah, they're different, or at least in the pictures.
So like, how different? Like
very
like different. Circles and squares, or
circles and like rectangles.
Because I mean, there's no real atmosphere like we talked about, so it's all just rock. So how much of that do you think is really going to transfer? Like, think about stepping on ice. How much of your footprint is actually going to transfer?
Not a lot.
And also the gravitational pull is nil. Like, there's pretty much not there. He's not going to be pressing down as hard on the moon as he would be here on Earth. So it's not going to imprint as deeply into the dirt.
Well, if you look up the picture of the footprint on the moon, and then like Neil Armstrong's spacesuit, you'll see what I mean.
It actually looks like there's a secondary boot. So
really?
Yeah. So you're looking at the spacesuit, right? Mm-hmm. And then it looks like there's another protective layer to go over the foot as a boot, and that is what has the striped lines.
Oh. So I see.
So there's a secondary boot. So there's probably the boot that they wear in the spaceship.
And then the boot that they wore on the moon, like airtight. Right,
to like an extra layer of protection from the lack of elements in the non-atmospherical moon.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I never really looked into it that much.
Well, this is very interesting to me. I have never been presented with this before.
Really?
No. I did not find this in my search either. So I find that very interesting.
I feel like searching for this altogether was super hard.
It definitely was weird. I even ended up on the actual NASA website.
Really?
And it really only gave you snippets of information and like a couple of pictures. Surprise. But I did find it interesting that the Apollo 11 or the whole Apollo space project.
Apollo 11, right?
Yeah, but that's the actual spaceship that they.
Oh.
Apollo is the actual project.
Disregard.
So I found it interesting that NASA actually wrote the primary goal was to complete a national goal set by President JFK on May 25th, 1961, to perform a crewed lunar landing and return to Earth.
JFK?
Mm-hmm. So he was the president at the time. He wanted us to come together to be the first ones to the moon.
But like, why? What was the huge...
Well, that's kind of why I find the word primary being used in this little snippet as very suspicious. Because typically if there's a primary, there's a secondary. That might have been their reason for wanting to be there. But why did the actual space race exist?
What I found about the space race was it was a 20th century competition between the Cold War rivals, which is the United States and the Soviet Union, but it was to achieve superior spaceflight capability, and the competition began on July 30th, 1955, and the public started being interested in space travel in 1951. And it was because of a publication of a Soviet youth magazine, and it was picked up by the U.S. magazines. It didn't say when, but I thought that was weird. Like, I'm wondering what this looks like and why it just...
I wonder if it was somebody's project where they were hypothesizing how to get to the moon or how to get into space and actually, space travel, because people have been interested in the stars forever. So I think they were just trying to maybe talk about that, and maybe somebody had a really good idea on how to get people into space, and then that caused the different countries to want to be the first.
That's possible.
Because I was trying to find an actual origin for the space race. Because, I know people are competitive. Sure.
For sure.
But how do two countries that are already at odds, go to a meeting, look at each other, and be like, all right, man, I'll arm wrestle you. Let's see who will make it to the moon first. Like what? I was trying to imagine that kind of conversation happening, and it didn't make sense.
It doesn't, especially if they're rivals. Right.
They're already not having positive conversations, I'm sure. So I thought it was interesting that JFK would put that on the American people because it's their money that's going to be funding this.
It is.
Like, it's amazing that he was able to rally the American people to actually get behind this.
That is a little surprising.
But it's the only reason that we were actually able to do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had the funding.
Well, if we actually did do it.
Yes, because that is the conspiracy theory.
Is there any other conspiracies that you found? That's just one I've heard most. I honestly couldn't even find this online. It's just what I remember.
A lot of what I found were based off of pictures. So a lot of people are saying a lot with the flag. Like the flag is wrinkled as if it's, swaying in a breeze. And then there was also the people supposedly at a green screen, and they're actually out in the desert in the dark. And
I haven't heard the desert thing.
Yeah, well, that's where they would have supposedly filmed it. It's the most close environment we would have. I mean, unless they actually had a real stage somewhere. I don't know. But a lot of people are saying that they had the people in the astronauts, the actors, if you will, or even the actual astronauts themselves, whoever they believe did this. They used thin wire to keep them from actually like touching the ground, to mimic the zero gravity.
Right.
But that one's easily disputable because as soon as their feet hit the ground and that dirt comes up, it immediately falls back down on the moon because there's no gravity, there's no air, there's nothing for the particles to hang on to. So they're just going to go up and they're going to come right back down.
I thought they would just float a little bit longer because they're in space and the gravity is different.
The people, not the dust. So like, how you put your foot down and there's dust, it kicks up and it lingers, and then it's in the air and then you're breathing it and you're like, it's a terrible time. But on the moon, it'll go up and then come right back down. So it's like nearly immediate.
Interesting.
So it won't swirl. It won't go further. It won't go elsewhere.
It'll just go back right in the same spot.
Right. I thought that was also a fun fact.
I didn't know that.
Right. So I never really looked. It was really interesting to me reading about this, seeing how drastically different zero gravity is to obviously having gravity.
Yeah. I couldn't even imagine being in space.
Right. It's kind of hard to imagine because anything that, like, we imagine that we let go of something, it's going to fall. That's not the case.
Not at all.
Like, it's just going to be.
Have you actually seen the astronauts that come back to Earth and, like, accidentally, like, drop a coffee cup while they're doing an interview?
Oh, and it does.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you've been up there long enough.
Yeah. And usually when you go to space, you're up there a while, no matter where you go. Actually,
I found this very interesting. So with this actual moon Apollo 11 project, they left Earth on July 16th, 1972. They arrived on the moon July 20th, 1972. They were there for 2.5 hours, turned around, and came back. They returned on July 24th.
That's not...
Right? I thought that was really crazy.
That's a little...
It was insane. I was blown away that they only spent 2.5 hours on the moon. I don't know if it was lack of resources. I don't know if it was... I don't know.
I thought that time was way different in space.
Well, I mean, you're only on the moon. It's not that far away. You're still kind of you're still in our solar year. It's not that different because you're in the neighborhood.
We should do an episode about different solar times.
Oh, geez. Our calendar gave you a headache.
It did. Still does.
So I needed to look up what they actually did on the moon. Especially after I learned that they were only there for 2.5 hours. And then also because the word primary really stuck out like a red flag to me. So at this point, I believe that they've been to the moon. I believe that happened.
Well, there was a human-made object that touched the moon in 1959. So I don't know if that had a camera. Is that what you mean, or do you mean like actual people on the moon before?
I think the moon landing itself, like this conspiracy theory that we're talking about, I feel like we did go to the moon. I feel like we were there. All of that evidence is accurate.
I don't see why it wouldn't be. There's not a lot of evidence saying that it wasn't. There's actually probably like 0 to none, especially with Google being stupid and not giving us good answers.
Well, I mean, that could be part of the conspiracy theory is that they're covering up the real answers, but
that's true.
That's a whole other subject.
That is. That's another headache.
Yes. So a lot of people think that the moon landing was faked also because we didn't have the money to accomplish it. Not that we didn't actually have the technology to make it there, but because we didn't have the money to fund the project to get us there.
That'd probably be a hefty price.
Definitely. So a lot of people think that they figured it was cheaper to just fake it.
That's fair.
It absolutely. I mean,
people are greedy with money. So.
Absolutely. But I think, and also it being JFK, I would like to think that there are some things that we actually did do. You know what I'm saying? Like as an American, I feel like we should be able to believe in the government a little bit.
I do think we went to the moon.
Right.
Like I just said a couple minutes ago, there's nothing saying that we didn't.
No, there's not enough evidence for me. What's funny is I'm usually on the conspiracy theory boat, but in this case, I am not.
It's also because you really couldn't find anything about any conspiracy.
Right, and there's...
People say, like, this is one of the biggest conspiracies, but there's no conspiracy there.
No, and there's so much that has disputed it, like, and just blatantly, no, this is silly. You're being silly. You're just looking for something at this point.
And then they prove that it's like, hey, like you just said, you're being silly.
Right. And so a lot of what I found, too, was people were saying that they couldn't have possibly been to the moon because the shadows of the astronauts aren't in the same places. So maybe they weren't actually there, or was a bad lighting crew, or things like that.
Shadows?
Yeah. So on the moon, there are several light sources. There is the sun. There is the light reflected from the sun off of the Earth. And then there is the actual sun being reflected off of the moon. Yeah. And then all of the other items on the moon. Because they're obviously on the bright side of the moon. Where the sun
they're not going to go to the dark side.
Right. You're never going to see it. Be silly. So, actually, fun fact. The bright side of the moon actually gets very hot. They had cooling systems in their astronaut suits.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I never thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things about space that we just don't think about because it's not part of our life. You know what I mean? It's so far away.
One of my biggest questions is black holes.
Oh, man.
Like, I just don't understand how they work, but that is a whole other...
That will have to be its own episode.
Yeah.
We will have to circle back to that another day. Gladly.
Those are so interesting and scary at the same time.
Yes. So also once I saw the primary, I'm really going to keep going back to this primary thing and this little excerpt that I found.
Secondary.
Exactly. So once I saw that, I was like typing furiously, trying to figure out what could possibly have been the secondary. So I looked up, what did they do in those 2.5 hours on the moon?
Stick a flag on the moon and say this is one small step for man.
One huge leap for mankind. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they said?
Yeah, Neil. Yeah.
So was it only Neil on the moon?
Nope. So there was Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins.
Buzz Lightyear?
I know. I wonder if that was an influence. Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Because Buzz Lightyear and Buzz Aldrin is pretty close.
Yeah, Buzz.
Yeah.
And we know Disney, they like to steal things.
Attacking Disney 2 episodes in a row. Look at us go. They also collected samples of the dirt and the rock and, the what have you of the moon. They put a device up to measure the solar wind.
That's like stuff I wouldn't even think of.
Exactly. They put up a seismometer for any earthquakes that may happen on the moon.
Earthquakes on the moon?
Or I guess moonquakes. Right?
Would that...
Any seismic activity. Yeah. That might be the words we're looking for. And an object to receive beams from Earth.
What?
That one was very odd
what does
to
that
me.
Mean?
I don't know. That's exactly what it said. And I'm like, beams of what? Nobody's on the moon.
Yeah.
Who's going to receive this? Like, are we just sending them there to bounce it back to ourselves?
That doesn't
like,
make
what
sense
are we doing? Or maybe that is to send the data from the seismograph and the solar.
Oh, maybe. I guess
Maybe to get the data back. Maybe.
But if they sent them up in a couple days, why don't they just send more people up?
Well, it costs that much money.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it costs a lot of money to get us up there. But I thought that those were really interesting things. They did this in 2.5 hours.
I think that's crazy.
Like, I feel like that's not a lot of time for 3 people. I mean, those machines probably aren't complicated. They probably made it so that all you got to do is hit button A, B, and C, and you're done.
Yeah.
But at least the seismometer had to have been inserted into the ground at some point.
That's true.
So that's really unfortunate that they spent the 2.5 hours on the moon
doing sciencey stuff instead
of working.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they're astronauts, so they're going to be sciencey. But like, do you think they took the time to just like
sit there,
stand up, and like
stare at the Earth,
dude? That
would be crazy.
I mean, that probably would have been the first thing I did.
Like, just
after stepping off of that shuttle, just looking at the moon, like, no.
And looking back at the round Earth.
Right? Right. Yes. The round Earth. The round Earth.
I don't know why people think it's flat.
The astronauts also took a lot of photos, as I think they were each set up with a camera that took a picture every 50 seconds. 50 seconds.
Wow.
That's a lot of pictures.
That is a lot of pictures.
Because especially if all 3 of them are doing things, that's a lot of pictures.
Wait, wasn't this live streamed?
Yep.
Live broadcasted? I don't know what it's called.
So they also had a what are they? A motion capture picture camera, motion picture camera.
So
that's what they called it.
Live broadcasted from space.
There was a motion picture. So there was, I think, at least a 7-second delay or something.
For sure.
Yeah. I think that was the number. I think that was the number that they gave. It was 5 or 7 seconds of a delay between the broadcast, which, I mean, coming from the moon, that's actually,
that's like an average football game delay now.
Yeah, like, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, fun fact, Australia was able to receive it a few seconds sooner because of where they were.
What?
So, yeah.
So they were like closer to the moon in a way?
I think so, at that time of whatever. So they were able to receive it like a little bit sooner. Yeah. So it's kind of funny that they were living in the future.
Yeah.
Kind of.
In a way.
It was really funny. I thought it was a fun fact. And I did not know this at all. This is the first time I have ever heard of this. They put a plaque up that said, "We come in peace for all mankind."
Aliens.
Right? I thought it was interesting that they did that. I mean, it's going to be in English. I assume. It didn't specify if they put it in several languages or what have you.
I'm assuming just English.
Probably, because we're the U.S. We were there
first.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's why they did that.
Russian or German.
They definitely wouldn't put it in Russian. That kind of brings me to my other thought.
I actually have one question. Is the flag still there?
I believe so. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I don't see why they would take it.
Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of... There's no weather to destroy it. To make it weathered.
What if there's things?
Right? Like, yeah, I'm assuming it's still there because we went to the moon.
No reason to take it back.
And I think we went to the moon several times after that, before and after that, manned and unmanned crafts.
Oh.
Made it to the moon. Before and after that.
That'd be a cool, tourist attraction.
Right? Oh, man. Shh.
An arm and a leg.
Yeah. But you'll get there.
Maybe.
No promises you can come back. Oh, yeah. And before I get to my other interesting thought, this was interesting to me. Also, I also did not know this. They were quarantined for guess how long?
14 days.
3 weeks after they got back. They were quarantined for a precaution.
For a what?
A precaution.
Why?
I don't know exactly. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they could have brought back. I wonder if it's maybe radiation.
Ooh, that's true.
Because they did. There's a certain amount of radiation on your way out of Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
So you get exposed to it. But I was reading that it's quantitative to the amount of radiation somebody would receive living by the ocean for 3 years. Or something like that. So, like, it's a lot for that time frame they were up there.
Mm.
But, like, in the whole scope of their life, it's not that much.
Yeah, not at all.
But I'm not really sure what else they could have been quarantining for. I mean, were there germs on the Earth, on the moon?
In case they got bitten by an alien or something.
Right? Like, did they come home with an alien in their chest?
Parasite?
Yes. I can't talk today. Did they come home with an alien in their chest? Like, I don't...
If there was ever an alien like a xenomorph, it's done.
We're toast.
Like, there's nothing we're doing against those things.
We're screwed.
I don't even think there is really a way to beat them.
I don't know. So my other thought that I was putting off is what would have happened if Russia had won the space race?
Probably nothing good.
No. Most of what I could find of other people's conjecture is probably World War III.
Really?
World War III probably would have happened. I mean, it was not that far from when World War II ended. 20-something years? 25? Something like that?
I don't know. I'm not good with math.
But others believe that all the U.S. would have said, all right, I understand you made it to the moon first, but I bet you I can hit Mars first.
That's true.
So, yeah, people believe that
we are overachievers.
Absolutely. Bigger or better. Bigger, but the bigger the better.
So, if Russia did win, it would be kind of cool if we went to Mars. Somehow.
Yeah, but I feel like the repercussions of that would have been terrible.
If Russia won?
Yeah, I don't think anything good would have happened.
I hope there's never a World War III.
I hope not.
Because that would be...
bad for everyone.
The end.
Yeah, it's not where we need to be. No. Haven't we learned? Why are we still fighting over land? We've been doing this for too long. Aren't you guys tired? I'm tired. So then this would have, if the U.S. had upped the ante and said, I'll meet you at Mars, I'll get there first. Russia probably would have put a base on the moon, which is wild, right? Imagine that. There'd be a moon base for Russia.
It's crazy.
And then what was the Soviet Union would have gone bankrupt and dissolved as a country trying to compete with us. Because they were such a tyrannic country that they just...
I could see all of that happening.
Yeah, that they wouldn't have been able to pull their people together to get the money that they needed.
No.
And I was also reading that the USSR didn't have the people with the knowledge to do such a thing. That's why they struggled to get to the moon. That's why they failed. They didn't have the brain power.
Yeah.
They also didn't have the funding.
No, they did not have the funding. I don't even know how we did, but...
I don't know. We borrowed from China, probably. I don't know. That's what we do these days. Yeah, but I thought that was kind of a scary thought. World War III. Like, imagine how different our life would be right now.
Probably pretty different.
I know, and I feel like the map on the other side of the earth there would be a little bit different, too. Like, I bet you Russia would be not what it is.
would Russia even exist?
Right. Like maybe it would have split off into separate countries in a different way. Like maybe it would have done other things. Like that would be crazy.
That would be a whole different thing. Also, this is kind of related, but not related to the space thing. Have you heard that Canada might be the 51st state?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how true that is, but
why are we fighting with Canada?
I don't think we're fighting with Canada.
They're just going to willingly join?
I don't know.
They're just going to sign their life over? I feel like that's not... What's the point?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just said, why are we still fighting over land?
It's all stolen.
Right. It all belongs to the earth. Who cares? Like, we all need to live together. We don't all have to like each other.
But it can be peaceful.
Right, but that doesn't mean we have to kill each other.
Right.
Like, we need to coexist or we're going to destroy the earth. The one thing that we need to survive. It's a mess.
Do you have anything else to...
I think that's the end of my notes. I'm still stuck on that primary. That's for sure. The primary reason for going to...
Where is the secondary?
Right? I wonder. It reminds me of the Transformers. That was the reason they went to the moon. That they found a spaceship up there. Because there actually was a specific spot on the moon that they were supposed to land. Because they predicted it to be the most flat, crater-free area for them to land. And they actually almost hit a crater. And they had to divert from their original plan and land a little bit further from where they intended. So I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. They probably didn't have the good technology that we do now. Or I know they didn't, but not good enough technology to tell that there was a crater. I don't know.
We got people stuck in space right now.
Really?
Still?
Mm-hmm. Are they dead?
No. We're able to send them supplies somehow, but I guess there's something that's broken on their ship or something.
So why don't we send
they can't get down. I haven't not looked.
A repair box.
I feel like we've talked about this before.
I don't think we have. We have?
Yeah.
When
I think when we were talking about space junk a couple episodes ago.
Oh, yeah. How long have these people been?
They've been up there for like 7 months now, I think.
And they're not dead?
250 days.
Over.
SpaceX has been stuck in space.
Oh, they're supposed to return next month?
I think they've been saying that for a long time. But I know that when Trump got signed in, he told Elon Musk to get them out of the space. Out of space.
They should have already been.
I mean, definitely. But they're going to be...
angry.
No.
Really?
Their bodies are going to... Well, I mean, maybe. But I can't speak for their emotional state. But their bodies are going to be so confused. After spending almost a year with no gravity, and then they're going to come down.
The longest someone's ever been in.
Probably. Nope, the longest someone has been in space is 437 days and 18 hours, set by a Russian astronaut. Oh, cosmonaut. Valery Polyakov in the 90s. Wow.
Over a year in space. That would be... But yeah, like them coming back and the gravity being so different.
Yeah, heavy you would feel?
Heavy.
Yeah. Oof.
That would be a bad couple of...
At least a month.
Maybe even months.
Yeah.
Have you heard that Russia sent a dog up to space like way back then?
No.
And it died on its way back.
Oh.
Yeah.
All by himself? That's terrible. Did they say what it died of?
No. I forget the dog's name. We do a quick Google search.
Laika? She was a stray mongrel from Moscow. Hypothermia.
Within hours of launch.
Yeah, they named it Laika, and apparently they did not actually expect it to survive.
So why would
re-entry of the atmosphere.
So why
they intentionally sacrificed this poor dog.
Why a dog?
It was an animal they found on the street.
So what is the dog going to do in space? Like, what is it going to do?
I think they were just testing life in space.
That's horrible.
Using a dog. Yep.
There's a picture of her in like a space suit or a space like outfit.
Oh, yeah. That's cute, yeah.
I think there's a different picture besides that one.
It says the noises and pressures of flight terrified Laika, causing her heartbeat to triple and her breath rate to quadruple.
That's like beyond animal abuse.
The temperature inside the spacecraft rose unexpectedly after the fourth orbit, killing Laika. That is so horrible.
I don't know why they would do that.
Unfortunately, her life saved humans.
How?
I don't know why we couldn't have just put sensors in this thing to figure out what happened. You know,
What?
like why couldn't we put temperature sensors with recorders? Why do we have to set an animal?
I don't know. That's the picture I'm talking about, the like colored in one.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Aw. How horrible. Was the first living creature to be launched into orbit.
That sounds horrible.
It sounds like they put her on a catapult and just good luck on the Sputnik.
Sounds like a Star Trek thing.
It does. That poor dog.
I wonder what it was thinking.
Fear. Probably just utter fear.
Yeah.
Like panic. That's so mad. That's so. Ugh. I can't. Words. I can't even talk now. That's so terrible.
I don't think I really have anything else to talk about either. So, after this little to no evidence, do you think the moon landing was fake?
No.
Me neither.
I think this is the first of anything we have spoken about that we have agreed on. We've been on the same page. We also started on the same page.
We did.
Which is unusual. Usually one of us flopped to the other end at some point. And we actually don't believe the conspiracy with even like a shred of...
I just don't see... Like, I know I keep saying it. I just don't see why it would be faked.
I can understand why.
I can understand
dollar
why.
signs is a huge...
I just don't see...
No, I don't see the correlation either.
Yeah.
I get some of the pictures. People are confused on how space and zero gravity works. Like, sure.
But then people are being stupid at the same time.
And then they're being intentionally ignorant and not looking for answers.
Yeah.
They're just marking it as a conspiracy theory and calling it a day.
Without coming up with a conspiracy theory.
Yes.
I also don't know why this is one of the most famous ones. It's probably one of the most dull ones that I've ever heard of or actually looked into.
I wonder if it's just because it's been around for so long. I think it's been around since it happened.
Yeah, probably. There's probably always been that person like, it was fake.
Almost 50 years ago. More than 50 years ago. 1972?
55 years ago. No, 56.
More than 50 years ago. That's crazy. 53.
53?
We're in 2025.
It happened in 69.
No. The actual launch is 72. Right?
No.
Oh, well, they also went up in 72. That's what I'm thinking of. So you are correct. 69. I think I said 69 at some point earlier also. I have both written.
Yeah, 1969 was the Apollo 11, which is the first crewed mission.
I have 1972 written down also because they also went up again.
Yeah, they did.
Yes.
And then in 1976, there were no soft landings on the moon until Cheney 3 in 2013.
That's not that long ago.
And then there was also, all soft landings took place on the near side of the moon until January 2019, when Cheney 4 made the first landing on the far side of the moon. Interesting.
Why did we not know about this? Interesting.
I don't know. Guess it's not as exciting as...
It was back then, yeah. Probably not.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they're going to space again. Oh, well.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'd like to see that.
That'd be cool if they did, like, broadcast.
The live broadcast? Yeah, that'd be neat.
I don't think they do that kind of stuff anymore for anything.
Probably not. No, it's hard to find live streaming anything.
So this was a conspiracy theory episode, and I think we should do another one next week.
I definitely like them. They're kind of never ending.
Yeah, there's just so many that you can just keep going on about.
You can dig one up wherever you want. On the moon, on Mars, light years away.
I know we talked about doing one about the Earth being flat, but what if we did something like Illuminati? I've heard of that one a lot. That one's...
Yes. I like the Illuminati aspect.
The Illuminati is super interesting to me. Like, especially the thing on the back of the dollar bill. And like the whole Jim Carrey stuff. If you've heard of that or seen that.
No, not
well, I guess you'll just have to
wait until we record next.
Yes, to learn more about that.
I'm interested in how Jim Carrey plays into the Illuminati. We'll see if the Illuminati is still around. We'll see what we can find out about a present day Illuminati.
Ooh. Do you think there is?
I have heard that there might be.
Oh, interesting. I have not heard that.
We will we'll have to check back next week and see if
we believe in the conspiracy.
I'm Erica.
And I'm Wyatt.
This is Tales Untold.
Thanks for listening.